Welcome to Perfect Embroidery Pro. I'm sure you're very excited about your new digitizing software, and I'd like to give you a tour through your software. When you first open the program, you'll be presented with the My Today screen. The same one appears every single time you open it, and I'd like you to just kind of take a look. It's pretty busy, but there's an awful lot of helpful information on this opening page. At the very top center, you can click here to send an email to our support center. In the center button, this is where you'll access the online manual. And here is for our latest inspiration update. You know, you get a free monthly update for this software, so this is where you will find it. In the wheel, this is where you're going to find all of the inspiration. Here is my daily inspiration. You'll see a beautiful image of a finished embroidery project. This is our list of monthly inspiration webinars and access to free monthly projects, our weekly blog, and then more inspiration resources. When you click up here, it will take you to our list of dealers, and you should select the one that you purchased your Perfect Embroidery Pro from. This will also tell you what is the latest embroidery designs that are available free for you. Remember, you get 5 every month, so they'll be depicted here, and you could just left click to access those designs. At the bottom of the screen, you get some choices as to how to actually open the software. If you want to create a brand new design, you'll select the first page. The folder will take you into your stored folders so that you can open a design that already exists. If this isn't the first time you've opened Perfect Embroidery Pro, then this icon will take you to recently used embroidery designs, which makes, getting back into your workflow very fast. This is also an update of what's new, and help will also take you to our inspiration support. So let's go ahead and create a new design. Oh, and look at that, there's an update available. So I'm going to say no right now. If you wanted to update it, you would just click yes and follow the prompts on the screen. We'll do that later. I have a plain screen here, so I think I would like to customize my screen so that it's something that I like to do. So I'm going to go to Tools at the top and then select General Options from the drop-down menu, and I'm left-clicking on General Options. And this is when I can decide if I want my units of measurement to be metric or inches. And I can select my default thread chart, and I like to use Madeira rayon, so I'll select that. On my machine, I can tell it, some specific instructions. The default settings are really kind of what I just leave in place for stitching on a domestic embroidery machine and my also multi-needle machine. So until you get more familiar or have specific needs, just leave them as they are. On the grid, this is where you can select how large you want your grid to be, so your horizontal and vertical spacing. You can maintain the aspect ratio or snap to grid. That's helpful when you're digitizing things like let's say a quilted grid. Then you would always want the points to just snap to the grid. You can show the grid as lines or as dots. And then let's go down to digitizing. So your outline input mode, that means when you draw, is it going to be a simple draw, a Bezier curve, or freehand? So simple draw is probably the most commonly used. And your complex fill will be standard or advanced. Standard, again, would be the right way to do it. And your default angle would be 0. Satin is standard or advanced. Now, I just keep everything standard because basically we're all mediocre or beginner digitizers. And then in view, this is going to let you tell the software when you select an embroidery design, do you want it to be blue or any other color? So, blue is a pretty color. I think I'll leave it at that. You want to show property tabs as icons, auto backdrop panning, all of these different features are ones that you can customize as you get more familiar with your software. And then we'll go into auto based, And then this is the length of the basting stitches when you add that around a design. 6 millimeters is quite long, because if you think on a sewing machine, 4 millimeters is probably what you're normally sewing a basting file at. 6 millimeters just means it's going to remove very easily. But it may also present a problem in actually capturing the bobbin and needle thread in the stitch. Sometimes on embroidery machines, you'll notice that the needle can't pull up the bobbin thread because the stitch length is too long. If you're having that problem on your machine, then shorten your stitch length to 4 millimeters. And then select OK. Like any Windows software program, there are some basic commands that you need to understand. This blue page will create a new file. When you click on it, it opens up a new file. Go to the folder to open existing embroidery designs that you've already created. It will access the last folder that you were in. The save icon will save the active document, and it always saves it in the default setting of C2S, which is the native format of Perfect Embroidery Pro. Always save your first version of a design in C2S so that you can go back to it over and over again and make numerous changes. It is also here where you will select from the drop-down menu to access the format that's appropriate for your embroidery machine. This is updated on a regular basis, so you will always find the format that you need. But remember, you should always have two formats, C2S and then the one that you need for your machine. Click Save to save that design. I'm going to click Cancel. And then Print, if you want to print a template. And let's go ahead and take a look at Print Preview. Well, it would be more helpful if we actually had a design. So I'm going to go over to the library and I'll bring in an embroidery design. Notice it's blue when it's highlighted, just as I had told the software to do in the general options. And now let's go to print and see what we can see. So Print Preview gives me an image of the design in actual size. And I'll zoom in a little bit here. You can see there's an arrow designating the top of the embroidery design and a crosshair, and also 45-degree angle lines also, which can be helpful when you are quilting or placing something in a block. At the bottom of the screen, we have my preset default palette, which is Madeira Rayon, and here's all the different colors, and it tells you how many millimeters of thread it's actually going to stitch, and gives you a breakdown and a color chip of each of those color segments. At the top of the screen, it would give you the name if it had one, or a number, how many stitches, colors, trims, the height and width of the design, of course today's date, and the scale. Is it 100%, which you most certainly want it to be 100%. You can change these settings by telling the software exactly how much margin on the paper itself. And here are all the options. Do you want to see it in actual size? I would suggest definitely always have a check mark there, and include crosshairs, because that's how you're going to align the design. Color analysis is those color chips we just spoke about, and the sewing time. You may or may not find that helpful. If there was an artwork backdrop on the file, then you would include that. Do you want it in one page or split in multiple pages? Headers, hoops, 3D. When you print in 3D, you get a very clear image of the design, which can be helpful if your template is illustrating light colored threads and then you're trying to audition them on a fabric. So I would always keep a check mark in 3D. And footer and stitches, you can add a title that you can go right in here and type in. So I'm going to call it Heart and say OK. And now you'll see it has added the name Heart at the top. So I could, from this page, actually print right now, or I could just hit close and then go back to my working file. This little wheel with a meter on it is the slow redraw. Oh, I use this all day long. And you can hold down this arrow with your left mouse key and watch it stitch. stitch by stitch, or you can slide the bar and travel through it as fast as you'd like just by sliding that bar. I'm holding down the left button on the mouse and sliding it across. You can see all the different segments. This is very helpful when you want to determine, where the needle's going to travel from one place to another. Okay, now we're done with that. With the design selected, I can then go to cut, meaning I would just get rid of this whole design if I wanted to, and then copy. Of course, let's go back a moment on cut, because cut means you will remove it, but it's also putting it on the clipboard so you can paste. It hasn't completely gone away. So you can do that in one click with cut. You can copy, and that would take it to the clipboard also, and then paste, so that would be 2 steps to do that. This handy arrow to the left and to the right is undo and redo. Oh, you will find these so helpful. I use these all day long, and they are infinite. They'll go all the way back to the mark where you save the design or open the design, and it's very helpful as you are working on different projects. Okay, so the start and stop will either hide or show it, and this is helpful when you are connecting designs. Maybe you want to know exactly where the needle is going to start on a design. The auto lock locks stitches, automatically adds stitches to the beginning and end of a design, and it's very, very helpful. The film strip is really video tutorials. That's access for you on help, and quite helpful. This displays the program information, version number, and copyright. So here you can see that this is your copyright with Active Graphics, G7 Solutions. Here's our website. This is the version that you're working on, your current version. So if there's a new one out there and yours is below the new one, then it would be time to update.